So we are going to talk to my best friend, Annette. But specifically, she's going to be all of your best friends in a matter of minutes. So focusing on Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we are going to interview a breast cancer survivor each week and highlight their experience, but also, more importantly, their success, because that's what we all want. So I am so excited for you guys to meet Annette.
Thank you.
And by the way, we go way back.
I have stories.
So, and I know all these answers, by the way, but I'm going to pretend that I don't and just
I want to surprise you.
learn and listen. Date of diagnosis. Do you remember? I think it was December.
It was, no, wait, is that right? I want to say it was early December, maybe December 6th, 20-COVID-teen.
COVID-teen.
So what would that be? 2020?
Was it 19 or 20?
2020.
Okay.
2020. Yeah, it was, I think I started my testing in October. Oh, it's October. And then I want to say the diagnosis officially came, although I totally knew, in the first week of December.
So what was, even though, so you said you kind of thought through all the testing, like you were prepared for it. Initial response was devastation or what? Tell me what was on your mind.
I think for me, no, like a little disconnected, unreality. But I remember here's how it started. So I felt a lump, went to my doctor. He set up the mammogram ultrasound. And they do the mammogram, and then they sent me for the ultrasound. And I remember the tech or whatever was like, oh, we do that a lot, blah, blah, blah. And I was going, And then I just knew. I knew while they were doing it. I knew. And they left the room, and the pictures were all up on the TV monitors. And I Googled. And I was like...
Did it say
no
stuff on the screen?
Well,
or you just
it
the
said
pictures?
numbers and things like that. But I was like... that doesn't look good. And I literally Googled like breast cancer mass on ultrasound or whatever. And I'm like, well, that looks just like that. And so I thought, when they came back, they're starting to try to tell me this stuff. And I said, I need a biopsy, don't I? And they're like, well, we usually try to come and ease people into that. And I was like, well, so I knew it. I just knew it. And so, and then I totally go and I read, how they post your stuff. So that sent me down a whole other rabbit hole. But I went into, I think, let's get this handled overdrive. And it couldn't be fast enough.
I was impressed with the overdrive. I loved it.
I don't know if it's healthy or unhealthy, but it's kind of the only way I know how to be.
Way.
So, yeah.
So did you know right away that you, like, what kind it was? Like, what's the process? Like,
you do know this answer for sure. So that's awful. And I think, again, I want to just say that every answer I give is just super unique to my experience. And I was also thinking it's really unique to my experience as who I was in that moment, because we were still on full COVID lockdown.
right.
And it really, related to what I was going through also. So I might not even have the same feelings or thoughts today. And certainly another person might not. But what was the question again?
Are we calling that chemo break?
No, that's just normal. That's just normal. No, did I know? So that's to me
Did you know what type it was right away? Like, I feel like, it's like you hear one answer and then you get good with it, but then
So that was a big part of the
later
problem.
something else.
I can't even remember exactly how long the answers took, but that is part of the most stressful thing. It's almost like you're like, please just tell me I have stage 4 cancer, and then I'll know what I have and I can deal with it, you know? The up in the air bit is exhausting. So for me, they did the biopsy. They then said, okay, they do all these other testing, which I didn't ever know personally. Why would you? I mean, I thought breast cancer was breast cancer. I didn't know there were all these offshoots. And so they're checking for these other things. And so when they came back to me, they said, okay, no, you don't have this, you don't have this. You just have like hormone-fed breast cancer, which is the most common breast cancer. You know, we think it's this size, off we're gonna go. And so when they actually removed the lump with the lumpectomy, then they still send that and analyze that. And then they said, ew, well, a biopsy is only, you know, 1 point of a tumor, and actually you do have what's called HER positive too. So, and that kicked me into a whole nother level of treatment. So that was hard, because you're kind of like, I've been run over from a truck. Oh, I stood back up, I'm okay. And then the semi came back. So.
Did that being HER2 positive?
HER2 positive, yeah, you said it right, thank you.
Is it HER2? Well,
it is HER2 positive.
but there's HER2 negative too that
Yeah.
is also,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand it either.
Right.
But did that change like a stage? Like, what does that mean?
So I believe it officially, and that's confusing too, because you want to ask everyone, well, what stage are you? What stage are you? I actually got 2 different answers on that from different people versus like 1B to 2A. But what it did do is it switched me from surgery, probably radiation, one and done, to now you need chemo. So, and I tried to weasel worm out of it, and I remember I had such a kind oncologist, and Van and I are sitting there in front of him, and I'm like, but you know, and the outweigh, and the this and that, and it was small, and he says, okay, let me put it to you this way. Up until the early 90s, this form of cancer was basically a death sentence.
Really?
We did not have any way to treat HER2 positive cancer. And it wasn't until this treatment was invented that we had a solution. And so, and I was like, oh, okay, probably want that chemo then, don't I? Yeah. And that kind of, because, you know, I mean, I don't know. People, maybe you hear the word cancer and you think I could die.
Right.
But I hadn't really thought I could die. And when he's like that, I'm like, okay, we're playing for real.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you have the surgery first?
Yes. Which is different for everyone too.
Right.
But also because, and maybe this is because, I don't know, but I don't know if this would have changed, but because they didn't find that until after they took the tumor out. So, yeah.
And so then, boom, you didn't think you needed chemo, but now you do.
Right.
How long do you have to prepare for that?
I feel like that happened pretty quickly. They let me get, you know, a little healed from the surgery. I could look at my calendar.
That's all right. Did it feel fast?
No, nothing feels fast. Nothing feels fast because you feel like you want to get it over and done, and people are changing the game on you. Of course, it's not their fault, but and then later, you know, my hospital closed.
Oh yeah.
So that was like a whole other wrinkle. But
and chemo's as sensitive to me. When I hear the word chemo, it's like, oh, you know. Oh. So how did you did you have to prepare yourself for doing chemo?
The way my brain works, yes, I have to prepare. But my preparation is arming myself with information. So I, went down the rabbit holes of other people with similar diagnoses. I talked to people that I knew, that I respected, that could give me, good tips. one of the things that I learned is the doctors are amazing, and they're like, your high level plan guys,
Yeah.
but the nurses are where it's at when it comes to like the little practical things of like what you do to feel better and to make yourself more comfortable. And yeah, they're the like in the trenches with you people. So, I read about like what you should take with you to chemo, and I have my little backpack, and I had little mind games that I played, like I sent you pictures every day of my outfit, my chemo outfit.
I think that's
yeah.
And honestly, I know we sound kind of frivolous here, but did it make a difference?
Yes, it totally makes a difference. And again, we're in full lockdown.
Right.
So we're like...
You weren't going anywhere.
No, in fact, it was really funny because I learned, and some of it's just trial and error, so I learned that I did better with chemo if I had eaten. And I normally don't eat breakfast, so I would schedule the chemo after lunch, and I would go eat lunch in the cafeteria of the hospital because that felt like a restaurant.
Right.
It was a treat. Woo! So, and it was nice. It was kind of nice to see, other people. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how many treatments? How many chemos?
There were 12 chemo, 12 or 13
And
every week. So I had one a week, which again, I think that varies for people.
Right.
So a quarter worth of chemos.
So when you heard chemo, what was one of your biggest fear?
You just, all of a sudden it puts you into this, I guess I'm a cancer person now, and I wasn't so afraid of losing my hair, but it's just like this huge reality of, well, there's no hiding this, almost like, it's just, I don't know, you just think of it as this serious sentence.
Yeah, I feel like for me, when I hear like, oh, and they need chemo, I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
It's like an extra.
Well, and I think you picture, I think what we all picture
Sad.
are like probably the people who are not going to be okay, who, are super pale and thin. And I remember at one point during my treatment, I was like, when's the skinny cancer part come? Because I'm like, and they're like, my oncologist actually said, that you picture, those are the stage 4 really ill people. He goes, everyone gains weight with cancer. And I'm like, well, that was not my perception. So, but I don't know. It was, at that point, I would say it was kind of just unreal. And I just wanted to plow in. Yeah.
So, not to jump around, but I have a couple of questions that I think are so, like, that I didn't ever ask you. Like, most of this stuff I didn't know. And it might be surprising to me. What was something, like, what kind of stuff did you hear from friends or family that wasn't helpful? That was kind of like the no-nos, like...
Well, of course you never said anything that wasn't helpful. No. So... the sane part of your brain tells you that even if someone says something stupid,
they mean well.
But you're also fragile and being chemically altered as you go on. So I remember one person said, oh, I always thought you tried to take care of yourself. And it was like, I know.
So you've done, oh yeah, that would. Go ahead. Sorry.
So basically I would say anything, and even if they're not meaning that, what you hear is, this is my fault, I didn't do something I should have, or I did do something I should, or shouldn't. So you hear it through, because, again, you already have feelings of guilt, and that's ridiculous. It's a disease, and again, your sane brain knows that, but you're a mush puddle, and so so things along those lines. The other thing, and you look back through your own life now that you're the person, you're like, oh, what stupid things have I done to other people? But too much advice or offering, which again comes from a place of love, but it's extremely stressful making the decisions.
Right.
So.
Did you ask some people for advice though? Or at least their opinions on stuff? Or was it mostly just...
I don't think I ever asked anyone for opinion on treatment specifically. I mean, other than like Van, of course. I think I probably asked opinions on the hows, the did this help you, more of the management of it. And I'm talking about non-medical professionals, right?
Yeah, like friends, family.
Yeah, like how did you go through this? I don't think I ever asked anyone like, would you do chemo or would you choose to have radio? Because I think I felt pretty like that's my own decision that I have to work through. So.
And your personality.
For sure.
Don't you tell me what to do.
Well, unless you're the oncologist, in which case I may listen. Yeah.
So then with that, the opposite of like, what was something or some things that friends or family that would do or say that was like, yes, that was spot on, now to say that to other people. What were things like that?
So, and I have to apologize for probably not remembering really specific things that people said that were wonderful because it's a haze.
Yeah.
So, I think that my personality, I like things acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very out loud, and so, I don't really care for people sort of ignoring the elephant in the room. But some people want that. Some people just want you to not go there with them. So, but
what you
needed was. And I think when people told me that they appreciated my habits in spite of, if I was missing from something, I did appreciate them telling me that. I think people were encouraging to me when they said that, my approach was encouraging to them. That made me feel good. I tried to, in a lot of different ways, my spiritual life, my work life, still trying to do some things for others. I tried to still have good habits, and when people recognize that made me feel really good. That's the saying. A lot of people did other really good things too.
When did you want family or friends to be close to you, and what were those times where you were like, just go away? Or did you have those?
Well, so again,
it was COVID.
So, I mean, I remember you wanted to come to the hospital with me,
right.
And you could. I will tell you, Van got fired from coming with me. So they put you in either, like, my first hospital had lovely little chemo rooms, and I was really, really grateful that I actually did get to finish my chemo there. It was like being in like a little first class airline cabin, with a TV and your chair and everything. He was like a caged animal. And, he wasn't enjoying seeing me be put through this, and it's tiny. And after the first couple of times, I was like, not helpful.
So that was a learning curve that, I actually don't want you.
I don't want you.
I don't want you.
And they would ask, like, the doctors and nurses, like, oh, where's your husband? And I'm like, he's fired. But it was better because I could just go, and I had like my book, I had my snacks. A lot of people listen to music. I would just watch their TV, like HGTV or something, and just, kind of try to make it like a little calm moment.
Yeah.
So that was.
How long were you there? Like, what was a chemo day's
okay,
work hours, so to speak?
You had to go. Well, of course, you got the fine cafeteria lunch, and then you have to have your blood taken, your blood tests. And then they basically clear you for chemo. So they have to check and make sure that you're up for it. And I never did have one canceled. Did I? I don't think I did. I might have moved one, but I don't think I ever got sent packing because, it was,
good.
Yeah. which, again, a lot of the people that you see there too are unhealthy in many other ways because they're older or whatever. So, other than the cancer, so I'm really healthy. So, anyway, so I would go in, I would go to the lab and they would do all the things. And at this point with full-on chemo, they would take quite a few tests, like different panels. And then you would have a little break. And then about 30 minutes before my chemo was scheduled, and they had little waiting rooms, they had libraries and little places you could go. I had to go put on the numbing lidocaine on the port, because you didn't want to do that too far ahead or too close, or else it wasn't going to work.
Right.
And then you would go in, and they would, you'd go to your assigned appointment time, go in, get comfortable, and it would take. So they had different things that they did in addition to the actual full-on chemo. There were other things that and then they have to flush in between a little. So I want to say 2 to 3 hours in the chair.
So, but from the time you would get there,
Oh, it was like
to
a
when
half
you
a day.
left,
Yeah, depending.
I felt like it was a long
Yeah,
time.
and that can be different. That can vary. When I went to the follow-up with just Herceptin only, which is what treats the HER2 positive, that was much shorter because it was just like one thing. But they were also they gave you stuff that was supposed to make the chemo easier to handle, and there was all these different bags that came in and out, and
So, what words or advice, not because you wouldn't give advice, never mind.
If I was asked for it. But
if you were asked for it. But what would you say to a new diagnosed breast cancer? Like, what would be the first thing that you'd want to share and say and
Well, I've gotten to do that.
Yeah.
And I certainly think that my personal experience has changed how I would go about it. But it so depends on that person.
True.
Because my friend that I've been able to do that for had a different diagnosis, wasn't going to need chemo, but she had more of this part's over for her, more of an analytical mind, sort of like I did. And so she was just in search of information. So she wanted someone, not a doctor, not a nurse, to tell her the truth,
Gotcha.
So, and I did say, things that helped me, or questions to ask. I'm trying to think of anything really key. I think one of the things that I really emphasized was the waiting is really difficult, and be prepared for that. And
anything because the waiting, you can't change that, but any of your treatment decisions that you would do differently? Like that you were like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that, or maybe or are you happy with your plan of care?
So I think that the actual medical treatments I'm happy with. I didn't love, so I had to switch hospitals. We looked at options at that time of even getting care out of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And although I didn't end up doing that because I thought the benefits of just being in my own bed at home with a support system probably outweighed,
Right.
I didn't super love where I ended up just because it was so big and different from what I was used to. But I do think that the process of taking that care or that decision into my own hands and sort of shopping my options made me feel better about the choice. I wouldn't have proceeded if I didn't feel like I put him through the ringer. So, I felt like I had to ask my questions, get all my answers. The biggest thing I would say is you have to be your own advocate. And I can't imagine, like, if you are a shy person, get someone who isn't to go with you, maybe, because, if you not challenge in a disrespectful way, but you've got to tell these medical professionals, especially the ones prescribing your treatment, what's happening. Like, afterwards I'm on a medication and it's giving me side effects, and I'm like championing, like, hey, this isn't working for me. Do I have options? What else can I do? So I think you just have to be willing to raise your hand.
Speak up for
Yeah.
yourself. Did you feel the need to join like a support group or anything like that?
No,
It's not your thing.
it's not
huh?
my thing. So there's the websites I found. See, I want information again. I felt like I had a lot of support.
You did.
I did. Yes, I did. So that scratched that itch for my emotional side. And I did get to talk to some other people who were, past me on their treatment.
That's right.
And were, kind of got those answers, but I didn't. But the nurses though do kind of
Does that
become
kind
like
of
that.
feel like
I think
it?
the chemo nurses are a special kind of nurses too. They were very supportive, and like they become friends as
Right.
you are going through it.
So start to finish, because so at this point you're cancer free. How long has it been?
So that's really weird,
So
because
like-
like people are like, did you ring a bell? And I'm like, I didn't ring a bell, but I don't know if that was because of where I was or COVID. And I'm like, well, when are you ringing a bell? Is it, because here's the thing, and I hope this isn't discouraging, but like, you don't really know. Nobody really knows.
Right.
I think that some people consider you cancer free when they take away the tumor. All right. But if that was completely true, you wouldn't need the chemo and the radiation. So, and that's what's it's none of it's cut and dry. So
Do you feel like you're done with cancer now? Or do you feel like it's just kind of
it still feels hovery.
yeah.
So that's I know that wasn't even one of the questions.
not.
That's just an insightful question. So, and maybe this is a lesson, but I mean, I feel like I'm done with cancer. I don't know if cancer's done with me. I feel good. I feel strong. I feel healthy, but like there's, scar tissue and stuff. And I've already had a few mammograms to, I get swelling, which is, I guess, a part of from the radiation. But every time you feel a twinge, of course you're like, yeah. So no, I don't feel normal, like a normal person. I still am tired sometimes. Like, I'm fighting hard to get back to my fighting weight.
Well, and just same energy level.
Right.
You've been altered, right?
I've been altered.
She's been altered.
Yeah. So
But would you consider yourself a survivor?
yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Now that, because I would definitely
Yeah.
a champion.
Thank you. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm a normal person who had to deal with something. I mean, I guess, so thank goodness breast cancer is like the one that gets the pink and it's like the sexy cancer.
So pretty.
My poor sister, had colon cancer and that's not as,
Right.
supported. So, but I think that I would definitely consider myself in the survivor category. Maybe I'll consider myself completely there in 5 years. I don't know. It's still a little too
It's fresh.
Yeah.
It's fresh.
Yeah,
Good
it's fresh.
word.
Yeah.
Well, anything that you want to share? Like, I mean, it gets all the attention in October, which is even why I'm kind of focusing on it and stuff.
Yeah.
Words of advice.
Well, I mean, knowing you and being with Fake Bake, it is funny that you're dealing with life and death, really, and your mind does go to some of those superficial beauty places. Though, I mean, am I gonna lose my hair? Am I gonna, am I gonna gain weight? And the answer is probably yes and yes. My hair came out, as you know, like spider monkey. Like I never did the full shave thing because I kept a little springy.
No, you had enough to keep it going.
And if I put on a ball cap, I had these little girls down here. So, but whenever you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't feel like it's yourself looking back, I mean, obviously I care about my looks, and that was a little hard because I felt Elvis puffy, and I still don't feel back to my normal, but when I first sort of turned a corner and sort of got some hair back in, and because you lose your lashes and your eyebrows,
Right.
everything, and And that was an advantage of COVID because
Yes,
I could, I was home on Zoom, I could hide a lot. Then, those superficial things, and, you do want to kind of do whatever you can to make yourself feel pretty, like my outfits and my fake face.
Yeah, a little glow here and there.
A little glow. So I would say don't discount that. And it's, it's weird, the feelings of guilt that you have, like, about all of it. So I would tell people, of course, it's not your fault.
Right.
Yeah, and don't add that to your own burden.
It's a waste of time.
Waste of energy, waste of time. Ask your questions. Love your support team. I'm gonna kick myself because I know when we're done, I'm gonna remember all these things. Why didn't I say that?
We can do follow-ups.
Okay,
we can do follow-up. Well, I think the important thing is that you didn't ignore it. And
So tempted.
You took care of things, you were proactive, and you kept a positive mindset. That's my take from seeing why you were as successful as you got to be.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Aww. Well, that's
So-
my bad side. No, just kidding.
I don't have a bad side.
No, I meant.
Oh, gotcha. Anyway, so I am gonna spoil you madly, more so than you've ever been spoiled with.
That's gonna be tough.
Some bronzers,
Ooh.
some new goodies, and so I'll make sure one of our friends out here gets one too. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
How did we do on time?